Hello, everybody, and welcome to another episode of Blake&VishSports. I'm Blake, joined with Vish, and in this episode, we're going to be talking about some of the rookie quarterback debuts, mainly the ones from Saturday. So Fields, Wilson, Jordan Love, who's not a rookie, but we got to talk about that because we finally saw him play after a long time without seeing him out there. And then Trey area, who I'd say he had a pretty interesting day, but yeah, not to get too much off track. But Vish, how you doing? How was watching the Josh Rosen, the Jimmy G, the Trey Lance game?
Yeah, it was really fun actually. I mean, I thought it was actually one of the most after Trey Lance went out, one of the most dull preseason games I've watched the second half of. For whatever reason, there weren't really guys that I was like just super jazzed about. Usually there's a
Mhm.
few guys that are like on the fringe of the Niners roster or draft pick that they pick that I'm just like so excited and I want to watch them with the third team and all of that. But there wasn't really these kind of guys. And I think part of it is because a lot of the second team guys started because the Niners, half their
Yeah.
or like 65% of their starters didn't play in their game. So because of all of that, we didn't get to really see everything. But yeah, dude, I totally enjoyed the entire watching the preseason, all of these quarterbacks. I think all of them looked exactly as advertised. Like what you
hmm
thought of them before the draft, you saw all of those things. And I'm so excited to see how these careers play out.
But I'm surprised, Hufanga, you didn't mention him. The next Troy Polamalu.
I mean, Hufanga played early in the game, right?
Yeah, he was getting out there though. He was
Yeah,
making some tackles.
yeah. So Hufanga is interesting to me because he's really good in terms of being an instinctive playmaker and all of that, but he is a lesser athlete. So it's super interesting to me in terms of that balance of like, if you remember, do you remember Chris Borland?
Yeah.
Wisconsin's own Chris Borland, former Niner. Hufanga kind of reminds me of a similar player like that. Not
Mhm.
the most athletic player, struggles maybe to cover ground in space. I mean, obviously they're different positions, but relative to their position, I'm saying,
Yeah.
but both are like instinctive, just playmakers, just gritty guys who always have a nose for the ball and just have a nose to getting to the ball and making tackles. Like I thought Hufanga was flying around on Saturday, and Chris Borland really used to fly around like that
Yeah.
back in the day. Like for a guy with T-Rex arms and a 4.8 40, the guy would just get around and tackle everything.
Definitely. I thought it was interesting just like watching I thought Rosen too. Rosen starting over Sudfeld, that was pretty interesting to see as well. And then yeah, I mean it was overall I thought most of the games were pretty interesting. Just the fact that there was like 5 quarterbacks that were taken in the first round that played. Like I've never really been excited about preseason like I was now, just to like actually see them out in action, but it was pretty cool. Actually getting to, watch them instead of watching just their like college games against random teams. But I guess we can get started with the first quarterback who, well, he started off with a bang. We can just put it that way. I thought the commentators did a great job emphasizing the name Trey area. That was pretty awesome. But Vish, I want to get your initial thoughts. Trey Lance first preseason game for the Niners against the Chiefs.
Yeah, I was pretty impressed to be honest with you with Trey Lance's first preseason game. I thought it was a good game overall. I mean, the numbers don't really show the entire story. I mean, if you watch the game, I think I mean, the Niners were charted at having 3 drops, right? The one by Richie James, the one by Ayuk, and the one by River Craycraft. Though the Craycraft one was a little bit of a duck, so
Yeah, that's what
I
I
I
thought
give
too.
I give Craycraft maybe a little bit of an excuse there, but I also thought there was a fourth one, and I unfortunately they didn't show the replay for this, but he threw an in cut to Richie James that was an absolute rip over the
Yeah,
middle, and I thought Richie James just didn't want to put his hands on that football because it was coming so
really.
fast. I thought it was thrown at a decent height right around his face mask, and I thought maybe he could have caught that. I don't know. I didn't see the replay, so I thought there was maybe four, but overall, I thought he looked as advertised. He looked athletic. Obviously, we didn't get to see his entire athleticism element. We just saw how elusive he is in tight spaces,
Yeah, moving in
especially the
the pocket.
rollout and the movement within the pocket. his arm obviously is as live as ever. The first throw to Ayuk was an absolute
That was
rip.
awesome. Yeah.
Platform just ripped the target, and then he of course threw that out to Richie James that he dropped. That was probably, in my opinion, his best throw of the night. That or the
Mhm.
one to Ayuk. Unfortunate that both of them got dropped. The Trent Sherfield touchdown. Everybody's hyped about that. It was nice because I mean it was great play design. Sherfield was open by a good amount, 2-3 yards, and Lance put it right on him. And especially, it's a more difficult throw because he's flipping his hips and throwing that ball far hash on distance, and he throws with such pace, such easy velocity, and he put it right on him. That was awesome to see. But the things that also that I saw is someone mentioned it right here in the comments. His offensive line was awful, and
Yeah.
I thought he managed that offensive line in a lot of situations well. I mean, he did take 4 sacks, of which I thought 3 sacks were unavoidable. The first one to Chris Jones,
That was
just
bad.
beating
Yeah.
Daniel
There's
Brunskill, he
nothing
could
we
do
could do
nothing.
there.
Right. And I thought maybe 1 sack he might have been able to get the ball out quicker. But the nice thing was there was a play later. I think Robbie Gould hit a field goal. This was, I think it was 3rd and 9 or 3rd and 10. And he was able to check the ball down to either Trey Sermon or Wayne Gallman under heavy
Yes.
pressure with a bunch of people around him. And that was really cool to see him getting all the way back to his check down, locating him and finding him and throwing him an accurate ball. I thought that was excellent. In terms of what I saw, I thought he was exactly as advertised, as I keep saying. He looked athletic, his arm looked strong. The drop back pass element, something he didn't do a lot in college. We saw the 2-minute drill that he wasn't all the way comfortable, though you could put some of that on the fact that he was playing a little too fast because the offensive line really couldn't protect him. So I thought there was a little bit of that, but that'll obviously get refined as we keep going. He missed underneath coverage the one time to DeAndre Baker, and
Yeah.
then he was late on a throw over the middle the one time, and it was almost picked. I thought both of those things are things that we've seen routinely from Niners quarterbacks over the last few years, from whether it's Jimmy G, Nick Mullins, whether it's CJ Beathard. And I think that's part of the learning experience. I didn't think it was as bad as people painted it out to be, especially given that he had a lot of really, really positive plays that were dropped. And then finally, maybe my one of my most just in terms of, before I let you go, maybe my last observation and takeaway, and I thought it was a little weird, is if you watch the replays of a lot of his throws, he actually doesn't throw a perfect spiral on a lot of
Yeah.
his throws, right? He's got a slight wobble. I wouldn't call it a duck, but it's got a little wobble to it.
Yeah.
And the crazy thing to me with that little wobble is the fact that he's able to generate so much power and pace while not throwing a perfect spiral. Because a perfect spiral, obviously, I mean, anybody who studied physics, it's more naturally aerodynamic than a football with a slight wobble. But the fact that he throws with such easy power direction with that, I mean, it's really cool to see. And then finally, I mean, we discussed ad nauseum before the draft how his accuracy can come and go at times a little bit. I thought we saw glimpses of that yesterday, but I
Yeah.
didn't think it was anything that should alarm you. It was just he lost control of the football 1 or 2 times in 14 throws, which I mean is pretty standard for him. And so I thought overall it was a really, really solid and promising debut from him.
Yeah. I'll say this. I thought he showed the most potential out of probably any of the quarterbacks, combining his throwing with his athleticism. Because I thought his athleticism, even though we didn't get to see it like fully, like him running, I felt like in the pocket and him climbing the pocket and moving, I thought you could kind of tell just how mobile he actually is. Like on the throw to Brandon Ayuk, he could have definitely taken off on that because he was moving. He was moving.
Right,
He threw that off
right.
platform. I mean, I thought that play, and then the one where he kind of threw it sidearm to Craycraft, and it was dropped. I'm with you. I didn't think that was like an egregious drop. Like it wasn't like the Ayuk one where like he should have completely caught it right.
Hmm.
But yeah, I thought his mobility was insane. I think him and Fields clearly showed how athletic they were, which is like they're already top 5 athletically wise for quarterbacks and just like running and stuff. I thought that was good. I thought his arm looked incredible as advertised. I mean, the ball coming out of his hands was electrically fast. Like I thought it was some of those throws were absolute rockets, and even the ones that were like incomplete, like you just saw them getting rifled across, and they did not. It like he was not going to have problems making throws to the outside the numbers, which I think is a really good thing. Um, I thought the bad, I guess, yeah, I wouldn't blame, or I guess the O line was bad. I'm with you on like not blaming him on the sacks. Like the first one where Brunskill just got demolished by Chris Jones. Like I really don't know what he could have done there. Like the guy was there, and then yeah, he also did do a good job of dumping it off too. So I thought that was good. The only bad I saw was, I guess, some of the inconsistencies with accuracy, but that can always, or not always, but we've seen, I think Josh Allen's kind of the prime example of someone who wasn't maybe the most accurate guy, and he's improved his accuracy a lot, but that'll just come through playing. So all we can really do is just, or wait for him to play more and try to build that up. But that was the only thing that I saw anything bad with. He had a few missed throws, and then yeah, I guess the one where he missed the underneath, and then the zone where he was a little late and the guy jumped it. But
Yeah.
besides that, I thought he showed the most potential of any of the quarterbacks today, and that's kind of what I guess most people's read on him was that he had all this potential, but he had a couple of things that maybe he needed to work through to actually get there.
Yeah, and I think two things also need to be stated, right? I mean, the drop back pass element for Trey Lance, he didn't do a lot of that in college. We're talking about a guy who had 300 throws in college, and of those 300, not a lot of them were of the drop back pass variety. He had run a lot of RPOs. He had also run a lot of true play action, and we saw how comfortable he was in play action. Well, obviously in the preseason, the Niners aren't going to unleash his how creative they can use him in the run game and how that sets up the play action pass game. We know Shanahan's offense marry the run and the pass and make it look the same, making it very difficult for the defenses to pick up whether they're running the ball or passing the ball, creating a lot of open space. Well, I mean, that element of it we didn't get to see. And obviously, I think the drop back pass game for him is going to be inconsistent. It's going to be like that 2 minute drill. Sometimes it's going to look rushed, or sometimes it's going to look a little bit inaccurate because this is a guy who hasn't played a lot and hasn't done that a lot. But I don't think that's exactly a bad thing because that can be improved with reps because the things he does well, like we did see how good he was in play action, how quickly he's able
Yeah.
to rip the play fake, get his head back around, locate the safeties, and find where to go with the ball. He is really, really good at it. And you can see he's done it a lot. So he's really comfortable with it. And then the other thing is obviously that's the first thing. And then the other thing is we didn't get to see the running. And we saw already how athletic he looks, even
Yeah.
without actually being able to see him run. So the sky is really the limit, like you said.
Yeah, I think my overall it was like if you just looked at the box score, a lot of people trashed him, right?
Yeah.
On social media because of that. Obviously, the drops, the bad O line. Yeah, I think really for me the only concerning thing was just the inconsistencies with accuracy. Now that can definitely get improved, but I thought he's not lacking anything physical whatsoever, and that I think is the most important thing because that you really can't teach. It is possible to improve accuracy. It is impossible to get better at reading defenses and maybe finding the underneath guy, but you cannot teach someone to have a cannon of an arm like he does. And I think he showed that again. And that's really the main takeaway that I had. But I will say, I think the deep bomb pass may be a little overhyped when the guy was yelling Trey area, the commentator.
That's just Greg Papa for you. He's
Yeah.
gonna be that regardless of what happens. You gotta love him. You gotta take him for what he is.
Yeah, fair enough.
But one last thing I wanted to add, and I think this was maybe the most impressive thing, is he never looked rattled to me for a
No,
guy, and he was
didn't.
getting hit every play, and I thought that it can't be stated enough how overmatched that offensive line looked. They were getting basically just Ole, like the old, Ole defense that, the 2K commentators used to say when you
Yeah.
have a straight line drive for a dunk. There was a lot of Ole blocking happening on a lot of different plays where guys just got beat straight off the ball and Trey Lance has pressure right in his face. And I was actually quite impressed with the fact that, he did a really, really good job of, for the most part, managing it and keeping his poise and continuing to doing his job. So, I mean, to me, he was exactly what he looked like, what we expected him to be coming from college, maybe even a little better than what he expected him to be from college. And it's really the sky is the limit because I thought it was a good debut, to be really honest. I was pretty impressed. Yeah.
Definitely. So that was Trey Lance, and then I know we had a comment to bring up. So thank you for the donation, David W. And David W says, on his 4 sacks, had no avenues to scramble. Instinct is to protect the ball. On 2 near picks, balls were thrown well. Decisions to throw were wrong. Vish, what are your thoughts?
Uh, I mean, you could argue that the underneath one against DeAndre Baker, when he just misses DeAndre Baker as the flat defender, under basically lurking on that little corner route from Charlie Warner, you could say that one. I think the ball was thrown well and the decision was good, but the second one where the ball was undercut to Juwan Jennings, the one over the middle of the field,
Mm-hmm.
I thought one, it was a fine decision actually. I just thought the ball was late. He took an extra hitch before he threw the ball in too. I thought the ball was behind Juwan Jennings slightly.
Okay.
So yeah, that was my take. I mean, we're all seeing these plays like on replay like once or twice and trying
From
to
the
figure
same
it out.
angle.
I watched it as many times. Man, if once they give us the all 22, it'll be much easier to see these things, I feel like.
I agree with you. That's what I was going to bring up, like with the Richie James throw, because I saw that and I was like, I can't tell if that was out of reach or if he could have maybe brought it down, although it was a rifle.
Yeah,
It was tough
they
to tell from the angle we were given. Because I
so
tried
they
to watch
should
it like 4 more times, and I was like, I just can't tell. Like, it's going too fast, right?
so they showed the replay during the live broadcast, and it was
Okay.
just literally right in his hands here, and he put it straight down. It's unfortunate because I like Richie James too. I mean, you like Richie James, he had a record second
Richie
setting
James
day
was
against the
killing
Green
the
Bay
Packers
Packers,
for no reason.
but yeah, it was just a rough drop because that was to me maybe the Ayuk throw, but that was a rip in terms of the timing. His back foot hit the ground and he just ripped the out route with timing, accuracy, pace. It was incredible.
Yeah, I thought the out route was definitely his best throw. Like that was he really couldn't have done anything better. And yeah, it looked very aesthetically pleasing right on the sideline, right where it needed to be. Unfortunate drop, but yeah, overall pretty interesting. I know definitely a great start, and I'm sure the stadium was just rocking after that first throw. I mean, that was
Yeah, I'm sure.
the first reception I meant, sorry. But yeah, so we can move on to the next quarterback, and that was actually Jets quarterback Zach Wilson. So they played the Giants. He had a couple of series. I thought he played well overall. Vish, what are your initial thoughts on Wilson?
So I'm gonna start off with Wilson with a little controversial take. I thought he was the best rookie quarterback this weekend. I thought he played the best, and it's not gonna look like he played the best, right? The numbers aren't gonna look like it, and all of that. But I thought he made the most NFL style throws within structure and timing of the offense. I mean, there was the first third down. He hit Corey Davis on the out. His back foot hit the ground. The pocket was collapsing a little, and he showed his quick release and he ripped it in there. And it was tight coverage, and he put it only where Corey Davis could get it. That's a great throw.
Mm-hmm.
Then he had another one on 3rd and 8 that was a backside. There were basically 2 digs, and he hit the backside of it. It was kind of like a dig, but it wasn't fully a
It was
dig.
more
It was
like a
kind of like
timing out.
yeah, it was more like a timing stop route, and he ripped it to Keelan Cole again in tight coverage, but it was thrown with such great timing and accuracy. And that was the big thing to me. He was accurate. He was consistently decisive. He was making quick and smart decisions. Besides the one decision, maybe on that first like 3rd and 2 in the red zone when
Like the
he
slant.
basically, he kind of just rushed that's the slant wasn't there, and he just got rid of the ball to get rid of it. It wasn't a dangerous throw, but obviously he might have had more time to do something else. But in terms of overall, I thought he played the best. He looked in command, he looked in control, and every ball he threw to me, besides that one throw that was kind of just a decision that was a little bit out of control, was very, very accurate. I mean, he had maybe the one where he got hit, so he rushed the ball to the tight end in the flat, but otherwise
The
I
tight
thought
end
he
fell,
was
it looked like on
that
that.
too.
I
That too.
I thought that was a good throw, and then you see the tight end on the ground. It's like, it looks like he would have actually like that would have been a great throw if the tight end didn't
Maybe.
fall.
I thought maybe his arm got hit, so the ball just came out a little bit
Okay.
funny. I mean, we're it's really tough to judge these things without being able to slow it down on the all 22 and rewatch it. But
Mhm.
yeah, I mean, I really thought he looked terrific, and maybe it's because I had the least expectations for Zach Wilson because
Mm.
seemingly the training camp reports, at least relative to what was coming about Trey Lance, Trevor Lawrence, and
Fields.
Justin Fields, it seemed like maybe he was a little bit behind, and that's why I'm even more impressed by how he played. But I thought he
Mhm.
looked like a very good quarterback, and every time I thought he looked like a perfect fit for their offense. Like if you
Yes.
noticed, they ran a lot of 12 personnel, one back, two tight ends, and he looked really, really good in terms of getting the snap under center. He looked really efficient, executing the play fake, getting outside of the pocket. His release is so quick, and he generates such easy power. I was so impressed with Zach Wilson. I mean, it's just one game, but yeah,
Mhm. I was kind of bummed we only got to see I believe it was 2 series, correct, that he was actually out there
I
for?
think it was three. I think it was three.
Okay. Granted, it could have been like the other guys I believe played more. Like Fields definitely played more. I want to say Lance played more, and I want to say Jordan Love played probably more
Yes,
as well.
I think he played the least by far.
Hmm. So that was kind of a bummer to me because I wanted to just like see more of him, obviously. But I think you're right. He played most within the pocket. I think of any of the quarterbacks. Maybe Jordan Love because Jordan Love didn't really get out, but okay, it was two. We were right. But I think that's what I thought was my biggest takeaway was he was in the pocket the whole time. I think Fields and Lance, they were outside of the pocket significantly more, throwing on the run, and they threw off platform a lot, and they were throwing bullets. But we didn't really get to
Right.
see Wilson do too much of that, which I kind of wanted to see because that's one of the main reasons people like him. He can use these crazy arm angles when he's out of the pocket. We didn't see that much, but that's maybe not like playing outside of the pocket and throwing as much as those guys did is maybe not always going to be happening on most of your throws. Like most of your throws as a quarterback will be within the pocket. And so I thought that was interesting by Wilson is the fact that, as you kind of mentioned, those were more pro throws that he was making than some of the other guys. He was really accurate pretty much on every throw. I don't think there was one that was like, at anyone's feet or anything, hit him in stride and all that. And then the thing that kind of popped out to me the most was his release was bar none the fastest by I think a considerable amount compared to everyone else. And that was something that was noted in the pre-draft that he can get the ball out really quickly, but I guess seeing it with or seeing how that translated over was impressive because on those short quick throws, like you obviously want velocity because you want to get it to the guy as fast as you can, but also being able to generate velocity while you're getting it out super super fast, he did an incredible job of doing that. So that's what I think my biggest takeaway was. And then I will mention too, he didn't really go down the field at all. Maybe that was part of the game plan, but everything, his longest throws were the out routes that were just more of intermediate throws. So we didn't really get to see him take like the Fields, the deep bombs, or the Trey Lance deep bombs, which I kind of wanted to see. Just I don't know, checking out how he throws a deep ball. But yeah, that I thought was interesting. That it was more short stuff, but it was all dead accurate, which is good.
So I did want to touch on that, right? Because the short stuff to me is important because
Hmm.
90% of what a quarterback's going to do is really between the 5 to 15 yards. Like that intermediate throws on 3rd and 8, can you make them in a tight pocket to a guy that's barely open? And that's what he showed. Like the
Yeah.
Jets receivers weren't separating all that much, I thought, from the Giants corners, but he was so dead on accurate and he was throwing with such good timing. Like the first throw to Corey Davis, if he doesn't put that with that much timing and pace, that might be a pick six because Corey Davis really didn't get separation. It's just such a good throw before he
He was
breaks his
just on
break,
him. Yeah.
makes his break with anticipation, timing, and touch. And then the other thing I wanted to say is I you touched on Fields, right? And we're gonna talk about him a bit more. And I thought by design he was outside of the pocket a lot more. So and he did run out of the pocket a few times, a couple times as well. Lance, on the other hand, he wasn't really outside of the pocket by design. It was just that we really couldn't see him operate, within the pocket, because it wasn't like the pocket was muddy and he would be able to move around it. The pockets would just collapse
Yeah.
around it. He had nothing he could do. So from that standpoint, we did get to see that with Wilson, because it wasn't like Wilson was throwing from clean pockets. That's what impressed me.
Yeah.
He
They were
was
definitely
standing tall with
collapsing.
the pockets kind of closing in around him and stepping up. And the throw to Keelan Cole is the best example. The two edges are kind of collapsing on him. He takes a kind of small step up and just rips it to him. And Keelan Cole really didn't have separation, but he put it right on him. And yeah, I'm excited to see more of Zach Wilson. Obviously, it's just one preseason game, but I thought based on the 9 throws he made, it was really just positive, honestly.
Yeah, that's I think something that just needs to be thrown out there too. Like these games don't really mean much, like at all, obviously, but it is
Hmm.
nice getting your first taste. And just an example, like there was a headline that kind of surfaced on social media, and it was Ryan Leaf outduels Peyton Manning in a preseason game, and we know how their careers turned out. Trubisky was incredible in preseason. Brett Hundley was great in preseason. EJ Manuel, if you remember back in 2013,
Hmm.
had a great preseason. But I guess the point of actually discussing this is what things are transferable that they're doing now that will be, required to win, I guess. And that's why
Yeah.
it's interesting looking at, okay, Wilson was looking good on all these timing routes and the ball was coming out of his hands really fast. Like that'll be transferable when it's like a week 15 game and
Right.
you got to get a clutch third down, right?
Right, right. And I think that's the big point, right? Like you and I aren't sitting here and we aren't sitting here like, oh crap, like this guy did this or this guy had this stats. We watch these quarterbacks, and even though Trey Lance was 5 for 14, it was evident like the talent and the things that he would
Yeah.
be able to do if he was protected better and you add his running element, right? And same thing with Zach Wilson, right? He was 6 for 9 for 68 yards. Looks like just a fine game, right? But he made throws and he did things that are things that were high level things that, in my opinion, on 3rd and 8 in a regular season game in week 6, that throw to Keelan Cole on the second dig on the backside, it's very translatable. Or the out route to Corey Davis. I don't care who's guarding it. You're not stopping that throw. It's just too
Hmm.
good of a throw. And those type of things in muddy pockets. Because if you remember, one of the criticisms of Zach Wilson coming out of BYU was that he was protected so well and
Hmm.
that you wouldn't see him operate under pressure. And I thought yesterday's game was a perfect example of we saw him having to operate not under the pressure that Trey Lance was, because that's just quarterbacks can't really operate in that. But just every play, you just kind of have bodies around you. It's not a fully clean pocket, and he was accurate and poised the entire time.
Hmm. I agree. I thought he did great. I was just more so happy to kind of see him with the new offense. And I thought Corey Davis, like he was peppering Corey Davis with targets. And I feel like that signing kind of went under the radar. I know me and you liked it a lot, but yeah, Corey Davis in fantasy and just in general, I think he's going to start getting talked about more. And I still want to see him with Elijah Moore in a preseason or regular season game at some point because Elijah Moore wasn't there, but apparently he's been tearing up camp. So we'll be able to see some potential deep bombs to him.
Right. And before we move on, I just wanted to say, like, there should be really no overreaction, honestly, because every quarterback to me that played this weekend looked great. I mean, even guys like Drew Lock, who had really, really poor seasons last year, looked terrific. Tua, I thought, looked a lot better too. And so there really shouldn't be an overreaction to preseason week 1. I just think the exciting thing is, especially with these younger rookie quarterbacks, like the talent of Zach Wilson, the things that you saw him do at BYU and you think could make him a good quarterback was all over on display. The talent of Justin Fields, the
Hmm.
athleticism, the arm strength, the accuracy was on display. The talent of Trey Lance, the accuracy, the physical capabilities, the ability to throw with timing, the arm strength was all on display. Mac Jones, his skill set, Trevor Lawrence, all of them, the traits that people coveted to take them and regard them as these big time quarterback prospects. The exciting thing is that we were able to see those things. So really, we shouldn't overreact, to their performances, but we should be excited that they're still showing the talent on an NFL field that they showed in college.
Yeah, against people that are stronger, faster, or just bigger in general, because it is a different game and different speeds. But yeah, overall, I liked it a lot. I thought Wilson did a great job, and I'm excited to kind of see how he gets or how he develops his rookie year, because I think he's been the most heavily criticized of probably all the quarterbacks, all the
Yes.
rookie ones, because a lot of people are saying, oh, Jets this, Jets that, stuff of that nature. And it's even kind of concerned me a little bit seeing the pieces they have compared to, say, the Niners. But, at the end of the day, it just comes down to how good he really is and how good he
Yeah.
will be.
I mean, we already got a Johnny Manziel, Zach Wilson comparison from Colin Cowherd.
Yeah.
So
Yeah. At least he doesn't wear his hat backwards, though, because that is a big no-no for Colin Cowherd.
absolutely.
Yeah, we can move on now. And before we do that, just wanted to get to a couple of things here. Yep. So this was Firm 10. Thank you for the 5 here. And Firm 10 says, how does an 80-yard bomb by Trey bring out the haters on Twitter even more? Jimmy G defenders trembling right now. Crying emoji. Vish, thoughts?
I don't know why Niners fans have reservations about Trey Lance. And I'll say this because I'm a fan, right? And I'm a Niners fan. From a fan's perspective, are you kidding me? The number 3 overall pick that your team just traded 2 first-round picks, swapped another and a third-round pick to go get. His second throw is in play action, flips his hips and throws far hash across the field, 80 yards to Trent Sherfield, and you're not just excited because that is exciting. That's what you get excited for. That's what you get recklessly excited for because of what the team gave up and the fact that he is a quarterback. So I don't know why people want to have reservations about Trey Lance in particular, because honestly, I've already jumped on the bandwagon a long time ago and I'm full speed ahead right now with it.
I will just say, because I am big into Niners Twitter now, but I just thought it was hilarious, some of the tweets saying how Jimmy motivated him, or Jimmy's leadership brought out Trey Young to make that throw and all that.
Trey Lance.
Yeah. Jimmy motivated Trey Lance to make that throw.
Yeah, you said Trey Young.
Oh, yeah. Oh, my bad.
Trey,
but
baby.
yeah, and I guess I understand the Jimmy defenders either, because by the end of the season, we don't know when he'll start, but Trey Lance is the future of this team. That is clearly evident. So I mean, I get the emotional attachment, that happens for a lot of people, ourselves included, right? We get attached to a player, but I mean, I think it's deer in headlights type of situation with Jimmy. He's gone soon. That's the reality of it. But yeah, the Twitter war, the 75% breakdown of how the Twitter looks, 75% Trey, there's 25% Jimmy. And it's and then there's some Rosen and Sudfeld guys in there too. Don't forget them.
You're a Sudfeld guy, right?
I'm more of a Rosen guy. I thought he was getting hated on too much because of the Benjamin pick. I thought it looked like there was just a miscommunication.
It was, but he also airmailed the ball by a good 3-4 yards. Yeah.
Well,
I mean, Travis Benjamin at 5'7", 190. You think he's going to catch that ball in front of the safety?
I'm just saying it looked like Benjamin, if he ran he ran a different route or something, because at least when they were showing the replay, it looked like Rosen threw it as if he was going to run a post instead of an in. So that's where I was like, maybe it was a miscommunication, or maybe it was just a terrible throw. I don't know. It's the third string Niners quarterback camp. It's really nothing to worry about.
And then we got one more from Firm 10. Again, Firm 10, we really appreciate it. Shanahan told his receivers to drop the ball for Trey to raise Jimmy's stock. I think, yeah, that one's interesting to me. That's next level conspiracy theory. I'll leave that one to my man, Grant Cohn. He loves this kind of stuff. He loves the next level conspiracy theory stuff.
I mean,
that's not really my lane, but
Jimmy's air yardage per throw wasn't too high, so there's some Jimmy gimmies, I think, as Grant coined them. So I think he's trying to raise his stock. I mean, the dump off to Debo was pretty nice in the beginning, if you remember that.
Yeah. Play. I mean, dude, while we're talking about, we were talking about how quickly Zach Wilson gets the ball. The one thing that's always nice with Jimmy Garoppolo is when he gets out of the pocket or when he's in the pocket, that ball gets out so quick. His release is so quick.
I thought his throw to Sermon too, where he was just checking down the middle of the field and in half a second just rifled it to him. It almost looked like it was a no throw or a no look, because he literally whipped his head in like 0.1 second of seeing him. He just got it out to him immediately.
I thought it was positive too.
Yeah,
I don't.
yeah, it's a good thing, right?
No. I thought it was a positive. I didn't. Obviously, you thought it was. You were mentioning it as a positive. I thought it
Yeah.
was a positive that he also got to his check down that quickly and recognized
Mhm.
that you don't need to force a ball on 3rd and 14 because that's something with Jimmy Garoppolo in terms of that sort of maturity while playing quarterback isn't always there from him. So I like that play. And then Trey Sermon, 11 yards after the catch. Whoo.
Yeah, Trey Sermon looked pretty good. And then Cinnamon Kiss CYN, thank you for the donation, much appreciated. And then Cinnamon says, thanks for the QB breakdowns, very informative. We are happy to do this, and I'd imagine we're probably going to do this after every 49ers game
Yeah.
or throughout the year, just talking about these rookie quarterbacks, because I think it'll be something that you guys like watching and kind of keeping up with, because this is one of the best QB classes we've had in a while. Just the amount of talent, how highly they were recruited, and just the level of prospects they are. So I'm sure this will be a frequent topic.
Yeah. I could imagine us doing this, every week. Honestly, after the regular season, talking about how Trevor Lawrence did, talking about how Mac Jones did, whichever one of these guys are playing. Obviously, Trevor Lawrence, Zach Wilson are playing week 1. But whenever Lance plays, whenever Fields plays, whenever Mac Jones plays, I could imagine us talking about it. I mean, whenever they play, I'm definitely first watching the game live and then going back and rewatching it as well to see the entire thing because I'm so intrigued by it.
Definitely. So yeah, those were the things we wanted to get to real quick before we get back on and talk about the first, or I guess the second, first round rookie quarterback performance, which was the first of Saturday, which was Justin Fields. So he started off a little rough. They weren't really moving the ball. Then they started getting some drives together. He had a couple of touchdowns. But Vish, what were your thoughts on Justin Fields' preseason debut?
I think we've used this word for the last 2 quarterbacks, and I think it applies to him too. It was as advertised. I was a big Justin Fields fan coming out of college. That's who I wanted the 49ers to pick. And he has a rare blend of athleticism and accuracy. And we saw that on full display, I thought, in his first preseason game. He is a special athlete. I'd love to see him, maybe against the first team guys. Maybe there'll be guys that look as athletic as him on the field, but he looked like the best athlete on the field from the first play he played to the last play he played. And then we see that special accuracy, that combination of his throwing ability, especially his down the field accuracy is unbelievable. It's really unbelievable. I mean, the first drive, the Bears receivers especially were just struggling to beat man coverage. Miami has a lot of really good corners. And I thought his best throw of the game actually was to Rodney Adams on 3rd and 10, I think, of his
On the
first possession.
sideline, right?
Yeah, it was a corner route, and he put the ball. I mean, as good of a spot as you can put it. And Noah Igna, I always mess up his name, the rookie corner or the second-year corner from Auburn that they picked last year at the end of the first round, just made a really nice play on the ball. But if he maybe gets even half a yard of separation, Justin Fields just drops that in the bucket. And then we saw the athleticism on full display, right? They really moved him around. We saw, Matt Nagy calling leak on the touchdown to Jesse James. I was shocked to see that in a preseason game, but that was cool. We saw his athleticism, how fast he is, how strong he is. We saw his throwing ability on the move twice. One, he drew the flat defender in and he just flipped the ball to the running back over the top. That was sweet. And then the other one was the look to the flat and throw the sidearm across the field when they were getting that field goal at the end of the half. I thought he looked pretty spectacular. I did think maybe he ran out of the pocket a couple of times when he didn't have to. I thought the pass rush wasn't there and he just utilized his athleticism, which is fine. I mean, I wish I could see what the concepts were, who the receivers were, all of that to have a better idea of whether he should have run out of the pocket or not. Unfortunately, obviously, we can't see that from the broadcast angle. So to me, it looked like there was space in the pocket and he just ran out of it. But otherwise, I thought he was really just terrific. And again, as advertised as the word, and he showed off that combination of athleticism, accuracy. He was calm, confident, and he once again, it's one preseason game. We don't need to overreact to all of these performances, which were all
Mhm.
quite good, by the way. But his traits in terms of his physical ability, his throwing, all of that, it looked on point to the guy that everybody saw at Ohio State.
Definitely, yeah. So he had a shaky start statistically. I thought his first couple of drives, like he was pinpoint accurate. It was just, yeah, the where he was throwing, like the dudes had no bit of separation, just none at all. The tight end route, I thought the throw, the corner route, as you mentioned, was great. Um, I guess there's two ways that you could either say maybe he shouldn't have thrown those because the guy was covered, or you could look at it and say no one's creating separation. Now we don't have the all-22 to see that, but yeah, I would say those were very just right on the money throws. That's what I kind of took the same approach as you in thinking that, I believe. And then yeah, I think he mainly dominated outside of the pocket was probably my biggest takeaway. There wasn't, or I guess the most of the damage that he was doing was when he was either running, throwing on the run, or just outside of the pocket in general. And that to me was just so much different than what some of the other guys did because Trey Lance didn't run. Zach Wilson was pretty much only out of the pocket. Same with Mac Jones. So that's what was interesting to me. And then, yeah, the only negative that I saw was kind of what you were saying, where he would have maybe it's not the cleanest pocket, but there's not like imminent pressure where he's going to get sacked if he doesn't run. And he would just kind of leave the pocket. That was maybe not a good thing, but also at the same time, just anytime you can get him to use his athleticism, it's kind of a win because you saw what he did running down the sideline, picking up yards on the run. He ran for the touchdown. And then the one where he was running out to the right, got the cornerback to come off his man and dumped it off. That was just that's what Russell Wilson just has been doing to my Packers for the last decade. And it's the most frustrating thing ever. And I actually hate when the opposing team's quarterback does that. But I thought that was a great play. But yeah, for me, just him outside of the pocket was dangerous. His arm looked great on some of those throws on the run. Just so powerful and very, very accurate. But yeah, I thought he did solid overall. Definitely the Jesse James touchdown it made his stats look great. Obviously, I think you'd hope he could make that throw, of course, because he was wide open. But I overall thought Justin Fields played a pretty solid game.
Yeah, and the thing I did want to mention is one of the things in Ohio State. I mean, again, I was a big Justin Fields fan. That's who I wanted the Niners to draft, the team I cheered for. But one thing was, I thought his pocket management at Ohio State did leave a little bit to be desired. I mean, he did take a lot of sacks for a guy that athletic at quarterback. And you can say that, guys like Russell Wilson take a lot of sacks, and that is true, right? They run themselves into sacks. But I thought it was positive to at least see that he was running out of the pocket into space, because at times also I thought Justin Fields at Ohio State didn't utilize his athleticism enough. I just thought he was so tough in the pocket. He would just stand in there and look to just push the ball down the field instead of, just getting outside of the pocket and utilizing the special athlete that he is. So I just thought that it could also be a positive, to see him doing that, because there
Yeah.
were times at Ohio State that you wish he used his athleticism more. I mean, he runs 4.4 at 235 pounds. He's a pretty amazing runner. So I'm excited to see what comes from Justin Fields, honestly.
And I mean, he showcased that running ability when he scooted out to the left, and you saw him just blazing past a safety or a cornerback. Like that's supposed to be the fastest guy on the defense, and he's clearly faster now. It's not the starter or anything, but it's still an NFL player that he just is clearly just much a better athlete than, right? At a position that's supposed to be physically dominant. So I thought that was great. But yeah, I guess for me, I thought I wanted to see more of him inside the pocket making those throws, because a lot of them that he did make were the ones that were super contested, and it was a dime, but we didn't get to see the reception come down with it, except for that I thought was interesting that was a little overrated was the throw down the sideline where the guy just completely jumped over the dude and just mossed him. That I felt like it was a little underthrown, like it was inside. They got
and too far inside. Yeah, I agree.
Yeah, but not to take anything away because he came down with it, it worked out. But I thought he did have a solid game overall.
Yeah, and to be fair, the one that was the almost pick two, I thought that was a pretty good throw. If the receiver doesn't fall down, I feel like it was decent placement. Now it's tough to say. Again, the angle, it's really tough to
Yeah,
say,
we
but
need
I didn't
we
think
need
that
the
that
all
was as
points
bad.
too.
I didn't think it was as bad a throw as it looked, but of course, yeah, like you mentioned, I agree with that one. I thought that was a little bit underthrown and a little bit inside. If he threw that ball a little higher and a little bit more outside, I think it would have been a hell of a throw. But it doesn't matter, It's a completion.
Mhm.
Completion's a completion.
I agree. I'm just happy that I guess I'm not happy because he's an opponent, but I he was very fun to watch in college, and then he's also fun to watch in the NFL too. So
Hmm.
um, let's
Can't
hope.
wait for Andy Dalton to start week one.
Hey, Andy Dalton was showing off his nice stash. I think he had a pretty cool stash. So
You
that
think
was
so?
that was about the most exciting thing.
He looks like a lumberjack.
He kind of does. Yes, he definitely has. He's a very nice guy though, and Andy Dalton is
Yeah.
a 3-time Pro Bowler. I got to put some respect on the name.
I agree. I've always thought Andy Dalton's a good pro. I mean, it's tough to be a starting quarterback in the NFL for the same team for 8 years, and Andy Dalton was that. That's pretty impressive to me.
Definitely, but enough with Andy Dalton. Although he's awesome, we can get to someone else. And this is actually not a rookie, but it's the first time that we've seen him besides training camp and family night and just throwing without pads on to receivers in an organized game of football. And that's Packers Jordan Love. So obviously very controversial man, not because people think he's horrible or anything, but the Packers traded up to get him, and then Aaron Rodgers followed that up with an MVP season. And many are questioning the front office for doing that, but not to get into the optics of it. But Vish, what were your overall thoughts on Jordan Love's first game as a Packer in the preseason?
So I'm going to be brief because I really just want to hear your thoughts. We haven't been able to talk about this yet. We talked about it a little bit last night,
Mm-hmm.
but we haven't really gone fully in depth into it. But I thought he was much improved. That's the word I want to say. One of the things with Jordan Love, and I watched a lot of him at Utah State. One of the things that always stood out to me about him is he would make one throw that would make you think, wow, this is a top 10 pick in the draft. That's a special throw. The very next throw would be like, yeah, this is not a guy you can draft in the first 2 rounds. Like the inconsistency was just like a little bit like, okay, I'm just not sure what you have here. I thought the most impressive thing was that he was very consistent yesterday. He was very consistent with his accuracy, his ball placement. I thought he made. I think in my opinion, he really had only like one or two bad throws. I know he hadn't finished 12 for 17, but again, like we mentioned with Trey Lance, like Trey Lance went 5 for 14. I thought he had three bad throws in that 5 for 14, right? The two almost pick balls, and then the one on a slant to Travis Benjamin that I just thought he threw too far into his body instead of out in front of him. Just like that, Jordan Love might have been only 12 for 17, but I thought he had maybe two bad throws. The one on 4th and 2 to Funches, I personally didn't like that decision. Now, again, like to
Agreed.
see what the other receivers were doing, but throwing that ball into double coverage 20 yards down the field, not the best decision. And then there was one more throw that he flat out missed. I mean, there was one he missed that his arm got hit. I didn't really put that on him. And
Yeah,
then
they.
his fumble, the exchange, okay, that I guess that happens in a
Yeah, I
preseason
don't know
game.
what he could have
You don't
done
enjoy
there,
that, but yeah. But I thought there were also a couple great throws. Like they had, I mean, the seam route to Sternberger, the first one he really ripped versus Tampa 2 over the linebacker, just absolutely ripped it in between the safeties. I thought that was a special throw. I thought that was a fantastic throw that kind of epitomized how talented he is as a thrower. And then he had one more throw, a couple more throws to Funches over the middle that they were strikes. And then he had the slant to Malik Taylor on another third down. That was a really good throw. Overall, I thought Jordan Love looked promising. He looked more consistent, much more in control, much more calm and poised, and especially that the operative word is under control because he was a little bit reckless at Utah State. So I think all of those things were improvements and steps in the right direction for him.
So I'm pretty similar with you. I enjoyed what he did. They couldn't run the ball at all, so I did want to throw that out there. Their run blocking was pretty atrocious. I think at the end of the first quarter or first half, they had less than like 20 rushing yards. So that they weren't really getting any favors from that. So, the yards they were getting were just coming from him. I thought that his arm looked very strong, and he, like the ones he was able to step up into, namely the two Funches throws and then the Sternberger throw, there was a lot of velocity on those, and you could tell they were rifles. And Funches, I don't know, man. He didn't play last year, broke his collarbone the year before, but he looked solid out there, just catching everything and actually getting open. So that was nice to see. I agree with the one deep the Funches, like double coverage, fourth and short, right? Actually, on that, so LaFleur talked about it. He was supposed to do a fake to the running back, and he went the wrong direction. But if you look back, Amari Rodgers, it was like a little bootleg, and Amari Rodgers cut across, and he would have been open for the first if he would have gone the right way, because it just took a little extra longer, and by that time, Amari Rodgers was kind of too far to the sideline. Not to get too off topic, so that was the mistake. And then, the one that it was basically a throw into double coverage to Amari Rodgers that got batted incomplete. Like, if it was just Rodgers there, it was very accurate. It's just, it was double coverage, so he couldn't reel it in. But I really did think he played overall solid game. We didn't see much of his athleticism though, and that was something that I was interested in. And I guess mainly because seeing Fields and Lance how they are, like I think Fields and Lance just showed how much more athletic they are than all the other quarterbacks. Because all the other quarterbacks are, they're not like Jared Goff's athleticism or someone like Chad Henne who just completely immobile. They're like the grade above where, if they have an open lane, they can actually like move. We didn't really get to see that from Love. And there was one play where there was an open field that he could have taken off in, but he threw it like kind of sideways to the running back. And it looked like the D lineman didn't get his arm on him.
Like
so maybe
the second play of the game, right?
Yes. Yeah, it was the first drive. So I guess we didn't really get to see him run, and that was kind of something I wanted to see, just how he is out of the pocket on the run and stuff like that. But we didn't get to. It's not a big deal. And then, I think the forced fumble, like, he really couldn't do anything. Nijman, who's the left tackle who they've been developing, he got beat instantly. And it was kind of like right as he cocked it back, the dude was there. So nothing really he could have done there. But, overall, I was happy just with how he played in general. Don't want to overreact to anything. It was one meaningless preseason half of football, but he definitely looked like a quarterback that had good traits, especially his arm, and delivering strikes to Funches twice and Sternberger were really, really impressive.
Yeah, I mean, it is meaningless, right? But if he came out and looked like as erratic
Horrible.
as he did at Utah State, then we would be saying like, wow, he looks erratic. And I think it's important to see that he's improved. He looked under control. He was throwing the ball consistently. He always seemed to have control of where the ball was going. And for the most part, he was pretty accurate. His ball placement looked pretty good to me. And whether that's in the preseason against second teamers or third teamers, ball placement is ball placement. If it's a good throw, it's a good throw. And to me, he made a few good throws and it looked positive personally.
Definitely. I think that's the thing too. Like, all you can really hope for is things that are, that should transfer over to playing in a normal regular season game, right? So I do think he showed that. He had pretty good poise, good job on the timing routes, hitting the guy when you need to. I enjoyed his. I don't think it was the best day of everyone, but I think he did do enough to warrant, like, hey, like, this guy clearly has talent that when he does eventually take the reins, like, it's something to be excited for.
No, yeah, I agree.
Definitely. But that was pretty much all that we wanted to get into in regard to kind of the rookie quarterbacks. We know we could have talked about Trevor Lawrence, he played. Could have talked about Mac Jones' first game, which I thought was pretty good. He had those deep bombs, but besides that, just check downs, and he looks great in a Patriots jersey, as I think everyone's mentioned already before. But now is just kind of a time we want you guys like drop some questions, maybe about the Niners, about general NFL, any games we watched or moves that should be made, and we'd be happy to have a conversation about that.
Absolutely. Real quick, I do want to mention EMA Beats. We did get the music you sent. Thank you so much.
Yeah.
we really did like it and we were going to use it, but a pretty cool thing happened. We got sent a personalized track for our intro from my man, Beatman times two, Beatman times two at gmail.com. He gave us a personalized track. We will be debuting that quite soon with the intro. I'm definitely very excited about it, the new intro and the new track. Again, EMA Beats, we really appreciate you. Thank you so much. But unfortunately, we couldn't use what you sent. But again, thank you. You're the man.
Definitely. And yeah, we will just be waiting for questions at this point. So if you guys do have questions, please throw them in the chat. And it looks like we have a few in there. If you have any that you want, Vish, you just throw them up.
Yeah, I mean, I'm okay. Legit dude, give this man some subs to the subs. Just search up legit dude. He's got 90 subs. Get him to 100 subs. Seems like a legit dude.
Yeah, I'm with him. Get him to 100. That's a big milestone. Keep on keeping on, legit dude. You'll put in some good work. I love it.
Yeah, you're a legit dude.
Exactly.
Let me see.
We could put up this one. I watched a little bit of it. Did you see him play, Vish?
That was what I was gonna do later tonight because he was one of my favorite players in the draft, but I haven't watched it at all. Yeah, I wanted to see how they used him and everything.
Okay, yeah. I also I've only seen some of I saw the screenplay that he blew up. I saw that highlight, but yeah, I'm with you. I want to watch more of him. I think me and you were really high on him pre-draft and kind of how he fits the modern NFL, and he played the whole game too, which is awesome because he's only been in camp for I think 2 weeks, maybe even less because of COVID, and then I think his contract something like that. But yeah, he played the whole game, so a lot to see from him there.
I mean, I thought he was a top 20 pick in the draft, and I liked him better than Micah Parsons. So you bet I'm going to be following his entire career because I loved JOK.
Definitely. So Jay asked, was Justin Fields the best or what? So we actually covered all the quarterbacks for those who are just catching in or just hopping in now. So we covered Trey Lance, Zach Wilson, Justin Fields, and then Jordan Love. I think Vish liked Wilson the most, his first day the most. I'm going back and forth on this one. I really don't know whose I thought was the best. I thought Wilson's was the most transferable with kind of the throws he was making and doing everything from the pocket. I think Trey Lance showed the most potential, just obviously with how big his arm is and then sort of his mobility as well. And then Fields, similarly along, you could tell how great of an athlete he was. So I have a tough, wrapping my mind about who played the best out of all these guys.
I thought, but I mean, I personally liked what Wilson did the best, but that doesn't mean anything about Fields at all. I thought he was terrific too. And you're talking about two people that loved Justin Fields before the draft. We both thought he was a top 5 pick in this draft. So yeah, absolutely.
Yeah, this is kind of what we were saying as well, Carmelo, that his arm, his release was sweet. But yeah, as we mentioned, we'll be putting out individual videos. So if you guys do want to check those out and don't want to rewatch and have to sift through everything, we will do that. But my Rhino $2 donation, thank you so much, my Rhino. Did Pitts play? How did he look? I don't think Pitts played.
I didn't watch. That was one of the games I didn't watch, but I also don't think Pitts played. I did see a guy that I actually kind of liked. I wouldn't say I loved him or anything before the draft, but I kind of like Javion Hawkins, and I thought I saw a little bit of highlights that he had a pretty good game, or just stuff on social media. His name with a couple highlights. So I'm a little excited to go back and see, but I'm sure Pitts, when he does play, will look great. That dude is one of the most. He's the best tight end prospect I've ever seen. He's one of the most complete players to come in the draft in a long time.
Yeah, so he actually didn't play. Um, we can do a video on how he did play though, and we'll kind of let you know our initial thoughts on him and did he live up to the hype of the fourth pick and all that and stuff of that nature. But yeah, we can get back to you on that, my Rhino. So thank you again for the donation. There's a couple other questions in here.
It's Snoopy says we skipped his question. Oh, he's asking about the longer motion. I mean, technically Trey Lance also has an elongated throwing motion. I would say of the three, Lawrence is a pretty quick release for a guy with an elongated motion. Same thing with Lance. And then Fields' release in college was slower and he did have a longer motion. And it's still a long motion if you watch, but I thought Fields' release looked way quicker yesterday than it ever looked at Ohio State. So
Mhm.
personally, I don't think it's gonna hurt Lawrence. I mean, it hurts Fields a little bit because he's the worst quick game quarterback out of all of these guys, but then his deep ball is so elite. I mean, Russell Wilson has an elongated motion, and he's consistently been one of the best quarterbacks in the NFL. So I think it's okay.
Yeah, you can succeed with a quicker motion, although I think, or sorry, with a longer motion, although it's obviously, the faster you get it out, the better. You think of someone like Rodgers and Brady get it out so fast, and it just helps when there's a pass rush there. And maybe that could be an issue with Fields, although when there is a pass rush for him, he does have the maneuverability to kind of evade people just because of how athletic he is, which is always nice. So
Hmm.
that kind of helps it out a little bit.
Yeah, Ryan Murphy says, I don't get how they can say Trey Lance shows off his athleticism. He doesn't have to roll out or run for his athleticism to be obvious. He was maneuvering around there, and even the throw to Craycraft in that tight space, he made what, three defenders miss before I mean, it was a duck to Craycraft, but he got the ball out, and it was an accurate duck to Craycraft, but he made three defenders miss. Even when he rolled out, even when he took a couple steps right or left, it was pretty clear that this guy is very, very quick, very athletic, very explosive. And then his arm, obviously, it pops off the screen.
Yeah, I think the arm thing and just the first play when it was the Ayuk drop, like watching him climb the pocket, there's no doubt in my mind if he took off, he was easily going to be able to, pick up a lot of yards and get a full head of steam because he looked like he was moving like pretty quickly
Yeah.
getting up there. Obviously, you just look at the body of work and like how big his arm is. Like, I thought he kind of showed off his athleticism. Now, obviously, there's a lot more you can do with that. And for example, like the read option and the power running with the quarterback. Like, yeah, we didn't see him actually carry the ball or anything, but when he's in the pocket, how does he look when he's moving around? That's what I kind of gathered from the
Hmm.
game.
Right. When you add the set of like read option plays, which includes like the zone read and all of that, like, right, read option isn't the play, but it's the set of plays that you show the thing. And then the zone read is a read option play. And so when you run those kinds of things, you'll see it more evidently. But you talked about the first play. How quickly did he climb that pocket?
That's
And
my
how
yeah,
explosive
that's
did
what
he
I'm
look?
thinking.
Yeah, it's pretty obvious. I think. I mean, it's tough to see. I think between a guy who's medium athleticism versus another guy who's medium athleticism, who's more athletic. But Trey Lance, no matter what he does, it looks clear that that dude is freaky.
I agree. Yeah, he looked pretty athletic to me. Now, yeah, he didn't really need to like, trample over like a linebacker or anything to show that, but yeah, just maneuvering in the pocket to me was um, very clear.
Hmm. Hmm.
Mm.
If you got questions, just drop them in. Uh,
We can just talk. This could maybe be like the last one.
yeah.
Seems like there's less questions coming in, but Pinor asks, how do you guys think Tua looked? I'm honestly surprised and definitely rooting for him this year. Vish is maybe not the biggest Tua fan that there is in the world. Vish, what are your thoughts on him?
Yeah,
Or his, not him in general, but his first game.
well, I mean, again, this is preseason, right? We don't want to sit here and overreact to all of these preseason games, right? So even though we've talked so positively about all of these quarterbacks thus far, it could really very well change. We could see some glaring weaknesses show up next week that stick with them to the rest of the season. In regards to Tua, I thought he looked, besides the before the interception, I really thought he looked pretty good. I thought he moved better than he's ever moved in the NFL. And
Mm.
that's a sign of him just being 1 year removed from that hip injury, one more year removed from the hip injury, much healthier and just in a better place. I thought his arm looks stronger than it did last year. Now, is it still a strong arm? No, it's an average NFL arm at maximum, but it looks stronger than it did last year. I thought he looked good. I thought he looked confident. I thought he looked efficient. He looked accurate. I mean, he threw with touch. He looked like the guy that he was at Alabama. Now, I do think there is a ceiling to that guy physically, and but and I'm not the biggest fan of Tua and his ceiling. I thought he was a bit overrated before his draft, and maybe the media uh kind of fueled that hate because they were so Tua.
Thank for Tua.
Yeah, right. They were so obsessed with this guy. Now, I think they are a little harsh on Tua now by saying they should get rid of him and all that. I mean, I'm one that has said that they should get a more they should have drafted a Justin Fields or somebody like that. I have said that, and that's just because I liked Fields more than I like Tua, but at the same time, um I was pretty impressed with what I saw, and I thought it was a really, really nice step forward for Tua, and I think that he looked more athletic and his arm looked stronger, and it was good to see because he might have a very good season, and I'll have to be like, yeah, I was wrong about Tua Tagovailoa.
Yeah, I mean, the first bit of the game, everyone was like, "Oh my gosh, he's reformed. He looks great." And then he throws the interception that was granted not the best throw. He didn't have enough velocity. He couldn't beat it, or he couldn't get it in there before the safety jumped it right. And then everyone was just basically berating him and saying, "Oh, same Tua." When 15 minutes ago they were saying he looks great. So I felt like it was very, you know, back and forth with how he did, and yeah, I think him looking healthier is the biggest part because to me that was definitely something that hurt him and how his season went last year, and the fact that he didn't have a normal training camp, he didn't have a normal preseason. He was recovering from a hip surgery on a team that didn't have many weapons. So that to me was just kind of a brutal start. But here's one thing that I guess thought they should have done more, and they didn't target Jalen Waddle. And I thought they would have because he came out of the slot. The only time he got the ball was the punt return. And the Bears special teams looked horrible for just a random note. Like every single return from Jakeem Grant or Waddle was going like at minimum 15 yards. That was just crazy. But yeah, I really thought they should have tried to get Waddle the ball more, and they didn't. But I guess I'm just a big Waddle fan and just wanted to see him touch
Yeah,
the
me
ball more.
too. I could agree with that, and I think we will see a lot more of that. And again, it's one preseason game. Yeah, that pick was ugly, but he also threw some really, really nice balls
Mm-hmm.
throughout that. And so, like, I don't think it's anything to make you shift your opinion either way about him. But I think the one fact about it is that his arm did look stronger than it looked last year, and he did look more athletic and more willing to move around and more comfortable with bodies around him, which is not something he was comfortable with last year. And it's something I thought he struggled with at Alabama too, the ability to throw with people around you. And he threw that one throw that probably should have been picked, but wasn't picked, and it was a strike to Matt Collins, but he did do it under heavy pressure. So it was nice to see.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I know. That was just a weird route by Matt Collins. That
Yeah, I mean,
he is a dude. I don't know because he was on the Eagles before, and that dude always comes up with just big time plays for whatever reason. He caught the game winning touchdown against the Cardinals last year too.
hmm
Um, yeah, I guess interesting player, but they'll be interesting. They will have an interesting season with the new
yeah,
weapons they have, and Tua hopefully healthy. And if push comes to shove, they do have one of the goats, backup quarterback Jacoby Brissett, sometimes called Jacoby Brisket, but yeah,
you
uh,
nearly ruined the joke by calling him Brisket the first time.
yeah, right.
Yeah, so before we go, I just wanted to pull up a couple comments. First, I personally am a big PJ Walker fan. I think he's pretty good as a backup quarterback. I liked him a little more when he played than Teddy last year. I thought he had a bigger arm. And I saw him, I was watching a little bit on the side while doing some other work, prepping for the show and all of that. Thought he looked pretty good.
Yeah, I haven't really been able to watch. Although I will say this, the throw to Terrace Marshall, was it me or did he look pretty slow?
Terrace Marshall, I thought so. I thought
Like
Terrace Marshall looked
he
slow,
should have
yeah.
been gone. Or you
But someone, you know the Madden guy? Uh one of the guys who does Madden said he ran like 20.35 miles per hour on that. So he was actually moving.
really?
He looks slow to me too. I don't
Maybe
know.
it's just because he got caught, but that corner was booking it. Maybe
Either
that's what
TJ
it was.
Okay, maybe TJ Carey was just really fast because yeah, I thought Terrace Marshall looked slow. Yeah.
But if he was running 20 miles an hour, like that's one of the
But
fastest.
you can see when a guy is running fast and somebody runs him down that's faster, right? He looked slow and he got run down by someone who's pretty fast. That's how it
That's
looked
what
to me.
I,
I don't know.
that's kind of what I thought too. But yeah, I just wanted to throw that out there because everyone, everyone on social media was like, oh my gosh, Terrace Marshall, what a steal. I was like, that play to me was mainly PJ Walker just, extending it pretty much and hitting him while he was open after a long time. But that no need to overanalyze it. But yeah, I just okay. I'm happy you kind of agreed with me because I thought
Yeah, I thought so too.
I thought he should have scored or
Absolutely.
because he was
Because he was gone. He was gone. Yeah.
he was decently
And
fast in college, although he is more of like a big bodied receiver. So
he ran a 4.38 at the LSU combine though. But
LSU
Jamar Chase ran
combine
a 4.
is
Yeah.
dude. They just cut like 0.15 off your time. They have to.
Yeah, I mean, Jamal Adams was 4.3 all day at the LSU pro day. He ran 4.55 at the combine. So
Yeah, I don't know. They must be doing hand timers or something out there. Something's not right because he did not look like he was running a 4.38
or
speed.
they might be running 38-yard dashes.
Something, yeah. I don't know.
Nah, I'm kidding. But
Yeah,
Jaime Productions says he's a big fan of the show. We appreciate it. Subscribe to him. He does a lot of Niners highlights videos. His videos are always sick. Make sure you subscribe to him. Before we go, we got a couple donations. 49er George 365, appreciate the very generous donation. Thank you so much. He says, I heard Trey had some trouble with the mesh point in training camp. I'm glad there wasn't read option type plays against the Chiefs. He's plenty athletic. Look at that first ball drop by IU.
yeah. What were your thoughts? I mean, I'm not. Me and you are obviously not at training camp. I've not.
Yeah.
Well, I've heard from Trey Lance is good stuff from training camp, so I didn't really know that he was struggling with mesh. And I think the thing with the preseason is like they don't want to.
He had a couple fumbles. He had a couple fumbles
Okay.
that were just botched handoffs where the mesh point on, the zone read where you hold it in, pull it out. They just had a couple of, little blunders. But
Okay, I thought it was the concept mesh that he was talking about, and I was like, oh, I had no idea. But yeah, okay, interesting. And then I'm glad there wasn't any read option type plays. Yeah, I mean, you don't really want to risk an injury quarterback for something that just like doesn't really matter at all,
and you don't want to show it. Why show an aspect that's going to be such a big part of your offense and give a team an opportunity to see the kinds of things that you're going to do with it? You don't have to show it.
Yeah, I agree with that. But yeah, I think me and you pointed this out too. The play where he climbed the pocket to Ayuk and the throw that was dropped. He looked incredibly fast getting up and moving in the pocket. Like
Yeah.
that.
Yeah. That was like, whoa, he got up fast. And then the throw was Robert Bruce says Mr. Fish, and then he corrected it to Vish. Mr. Vish, Mr. Blake, thanks for the stream. Wondering who do you think comes out of the AFC East, Buffalo and New England, or Buffalo in Miami?
So probably Buffalo, New England, or Miami.
Okay. Or is he wondering if multiple teams do, or does he think who wins the NFC East?
Yeah.
Okay. Yeah, who do you think wins the NFC East?
I would go with Bills, but I think it'll be very, very close. Like I realistically think that 3 of these teams could make the playoffs. I think the
Mhm.
Dolphins, they almost had it into his first year. Now they drafted two difference makers potentially in the first round, and Tua's got a full offseason and full, I guess, rookie season under his belt, so that'll help. I think they'll be up there again. And then the Patriots are, I think, one of the sleeping giants kind of right now. People haven't really talked about how many people they're getting back from injury, how many they signed. It's still Bill Belichick. You never count the man out. Um, and yeah, I mean, we'll see with the quarterback situation, but I think they will be improved this year as well, especially on the defensive side of the ball. But yeah, I'd go Buffalo, but I think, you know, Miami and New England are almost interchangeable and they both could make the playoffs.
I was most impressed. I would 100% say Buffalo. I'm most impressed by obviously Josh Allen of these quarterbacks, and I still think Buffalo's got a really stacked team. Josh Allen is still cheap. I think the race for second place is going to be tight because I don't think the Jets are going to be a good team next year. I think they're going to be a really competitive football team, though, if that
Yeah.
makes sense. I still think they're a year away of accumulating talent to being a good football team, though. I think they could be one because I like Robert Saleh and I really like Zach Wilson. So we'll see what happens. But I think they can compete in every football game. So I think they can be tough from that standpoint. I think Miami and New England are pretty similar in a lot of ways. And I think the both of their success hinges on their quarterback and how their quarterback ends up playing. And I'm bullish on Cam Newton. I really think Cam Newton's going to surprise a lot of people this year. I'm a Cam Newton fan. Maybe I'm very wrong on this one, but I am. But to me, Buffalo is still the class of the NFC, AFC East. Excuse me, I keep saying NFC. And I like Josh Allen, and I just think that he's way too good, and I think they'll win that division.
Yeah, we'll see, right? It'll be interesting. Yeah, I'm with you on the Jets. I don't think they'll win, but I think they'll keep games close. And who knows? Joe Flacco beat the Patriots last year. Zach Wilson, he might come out with this new offense, and they got some weapons for him. Weapons for the Jets quarterback finally instead of Braxton Berrios as the number one guy. So it will be interesting. But yeah, I think Buffalo is the team.
Vish, have you seen the pictures of CeeDee Lamb? He looks shredded like a Julian salad this year.
That
What do you
one's for
think?
you. I've not seen the pics, but every time I see Cowboys training camp, it's CeeDee Lamb catching a ball over someone and scoring. Pretty
Yeah,
much
so
daily.
I see the same thing, and I think he's poised for a huge year. I loved CeeDee Lamb before the draft, and loved. I wanted the Niners to draft him at 13 so badly. I liked Kinlaw a lot, so that didn't aggravate me that much. And obviously, Ayuk is fantastic, so I'm happy about that. But I loved CeeDee Lamb before the draft. I think he's an absolute baller, and I think he's gonna have a huge year.
Yeah, agreed. Yeah, I don't know if that says more about the Cowboys secondary, just having him score in a meaningful way every day, or CeeDee Lamb's just that good. But probably a combination of both at some point.
My Rhino says, "Nice job, guys. We'll continue to watch. Which non-QB rookie impressed you the most?"
Hmm. This is a good question. This is honestly a really good question.
Yeah.
Most of the guys that I've been watching very, very closely have been the QBs. Um, hmm. I will say this: I'm gonna go back and rewatch it, but from all accounts, the Packers O line didn't do great, but Josh Myers did a good job at center. And he actually was one of the people that started for them, and it looks like he's going to start during the year as well. He had a really, really good block and getting out in front on the screen pass to Kylan Hill that he was like 15, 20 yards downfield and was making a block. So he did a really good job, and everything in camp. Aaron Rodgers said that he was a guy who's having a great camp, and I guess people are going to listen to him now because the front office is scared he's going to leave. So people are really going to listen in. They'll make sure Myers gets treated well. But yeah, Josh Myers, I can't really break down too much because I want to watch every play he had, but he did a really, really good job in the preseason game from what I've
Yeah,
seen
I,
so
I I didn't. I haven't watched a lot of rookies besides just the quarterbacks. I was literally flipping through games and just trying to watch quarterback after quarterback after quarterback,
far.
and so I'll do that. Thank you for the donation. Really
Yes.
appreciate it. We will answer this question properly, my Rhino, on a later
And the
show.
pitch
Just
question
stay
as
tuned.
well.
Yes, definitely. Thank you. Um. Uh.
Uh,
Finally, Titan Party 808 says, shout out to you folks from the 808 state. Mahalo for talking Tua. Keep up the great work. Thank you, Titan Party 808. We really appreciate it.
Yep, and just advice: do not go back on our old videos on the channel talking about Tua. Probably not as positive as today's one was, but yeah,
Well, to be fair, Blake is a bit more positive about Tua. I
yeah,
wouldn't say you could coin me as a Tua hater, but maybe not a Tua optimist. I don't
you're
know.
more of a Tua hater than anything.
Hey, 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 hey.
More of a hater than a lover in regard to Tua. We'll put it that way.
Yeah. I mean, yeah. If there's no more questions, thank you so much, everybody, for tuning in. This was kind of a little bit impromptu stream. Uh, we just kind of were like, oh, let's talk about the quarterbacks, and we really appreciate all of you guys tuning in. I feel like we posted that we were streaming literally maybe an hour before we actually
Hour and
got
a
on
half,
here.
yeah.
Yeah, so thank you for coming on. We'll be back very, very soon. Actually, there's a lot to talk about with the NFL world and all of that. And football season is ramping up, so we're really excited about it. Thank you all for joining us. Please like, share, subscribe, share down below in the comment section your thoughts on a lot of the things we said, what you agree with, what you disagree with. We will be posting a lot of this as videos, so make sure you tune in then, and we will be debuting that new intro. And I'm telling you, that track goes hard. So thank you so
Mhm.
much. And before we go, Newt Lad TTV, thank you so much for the donation. And yeah, the meme you DM'd me on Twitter was very funny, actually. You also tweeted it at me, and I liked it then too. It was a good one. I'll share it with Blake soon, or as soon as we get
Was it
off.
a
Thank you.
Niners quarterback one?
Yeah, yeah, the one with Anakin Skywalker. That was Newt Lab TTV.
That's funny. I
Yeah,
mean, I'm all for the Niners Twitter quarterback spiel debate.
yeah.
I'm preferably on Team Rosen, Rosen over Sudfeld. That's what I'm more interested in.
Oh,
But
really?
we'll just, it'll be interesting this offseason
So
seeing which one takes the cake.
earlier this offseason, I was actually watching some Julio Jones for something else, some other preparation. And in 2016, I saw an absolute 50-yard dime thrown by Mohamed Sanu to Julio Jones on the first play of the game.
He's a
So
gr- he got a
I
win for
think that
that.
might be Team Sanu.
That's weird because he actually he was credit because that was the first pass of the game. So he's 1-0 as a starting quarterback.
Yeah.
Matt Ryan didn't get the win for that, interestingly enough.
Yeah. I mean, how many starting quarterbacks do you know that has never lost? Mohamed Sanu hasn't.
Yeah, I don't know. I'd have to dig the archives for that. Maybe Nick Mullins. Maybe.
Nah, he lost a couple times last year.
Darn it.
But hey, Jordan Love has never lost as a starter.
Correct. Yep. Awesome. Well, yeah. Thank you guys again. And we'll post these videos, post 2 of them instantly, and then a few of them over the next couple of days. But yeah, thanks again for joining us today, and hopefully we'll have more frequent streams during the actual football season when there's more to talk about than what the Niners are going to do at quarterback. So, yep. Thank you guys again, and we will see you soon.